Do you wake up every morning feeling unhappy and negative and sad? That can't feel very good. Maybe it's time to do something about it. Good morning, YouTube friends. Very good morning to all of you, wherever you may be in the world. I know it's not morning for all of us, but if it's later in your day, I hope you've had a lovely day so far. I hope you enjoy this video, and if you know of anyone else who may enjoy it or benefit from it, please share it. And can I also ask you to watch it through to the end? I'm sure you're going to enjoy the content. My question to you today: how do you feel when you wake up in the morning? What is your first feeling? Is it one of anxiety, sadness, depression, hopelessness, loneliness? If that's the case, please know that I know exactly how you're feeling. And please reach out to someone. There are people to help you if you're feeling like this. And I know that private therapy can be quite costly, but most countries have some sort of a system for offering therapy to those who can't afford the private therapy. So please do reach out, don't suffer alone. Perhaps you don't feel those intense emotions, but how do you feel when you wake up in the morning? Perhaps you just feel negative and unhappy about your life? How long have you been feeling this way? Has it perhaps become a habit that you've got used to? That may sound a bit harsh, but really it's a fact. If we do something long enough, we get used to it. The same applies, thank goodness, for feeling happier with our lives. When we get into the habit of feeling better about our lives and about our situation, that too becomes a good habit. But if you are waking up feeling negative and unhappy every morning, why is that? Perhaps you're grieving a loss, and if that's the case, well, that's a completely different subject that needs to be handled separately, and this is not what this video is about. But is there something in your life that you can change? Is it perhaps not time to sit down and think about why you're unhappy and why you feel this way every day? Perhaps it's time to make some changes. I know that's not easy. The most difficult thing can be to face what's actually wrong in our lives and make up our minds that we're going to fix it. But friends, it is possible. If you're in an unhappy relationship, then perhaps you need to ask yourself why. Be honest with yourself and ask yourself these questions. Are you scared of making a new life for yourself? Are you financially dependent on that other person? Are you perhaps not wanting to break up your family unit? Perhaps you feel like you still love that other person. If you are scared to leave the relationship and start a new life on your own, that's completely understandable. And it's a huge step to take. But I ask you to ask yourself this question: can you bear to live like this for another 10 years? Perhaps the rest of your life, as you're feeling now? You need to answer that question for yourself. If you're financially dependent on that other person, well, you might have to make some changes. You might have to perhaps take that job that you hadn't planned on taking, perhaps doing the kind of work that was not in your plan. But if it's going to give you independence and freedom, that might be what you might have to do. You might have to downscale some other areas of your life. But this all depends on how much you want to try and start a new life for yourself, a new happier life for yourself. So you don't want to break up your family. That's quite understandable. But children are very, very aware of what's going on in the home. Children are aware of the tensions, even if they're quiet tensions, silent tensions, or even more so if there's verbal abuse or even physical abuse. To hold together a family unit when there's that sort of tension and nastiness and perhaps loud fighting going on in the home is not doing them any favors at all. Or you feel that you still love him or her. I have already made a video on Is Love Real, and perhaps you'd like to go back sometime and listen to that. I feel quite strongly on the subject because I just don't know how you continue to love somebody who chips away at your love, perhaps doesn't return the love that you're giving them, perhaps disrespects you, abuses you, and lets you down as a life partner. Do you want to spend the rest of your life with that person? Are you really still in love with that person? I find that really hard to believe. Are you sure it hasn't just become a bad habit? Because it's a fact. People do stay in relationships for the wrong reasons. I got divorced after being married for 28 years. I was absolutely terrified. I'd got married when I was 17 and I hadn't known any other life. I never knew a life without my husband. I also didn't want to split up my family unit. And also, for some reason, I didn't want to be a divorced person. I'd always thought that I wanted to stay a married person. But I did it. It was probably the most terrifying thing I've had to do in my life. But I did it. Financially, I had to make do with one income less in the home. All sorts of things happened at that time. My mortgage interest rate went up significantly, and I just knew I had to hang on to my home. So I cancelled everything else that I could possibly cancel, and I did hang on to it. And I felt such a sense of achievement at being able to hold on to my home on my own. And after talking to my children as adults now, I now know that they were completely aware of the tension in our home. I think perhaps one happy parent is very much better for your children than two unhappy parents. I thought I still loved my husband when we parted. I cried buckets, but I realized as I started to get my life back on track that I hadn't loved him for a long time, and it had just become that bad habit that I was talking about, the habit that I never knew how to break. So I'm not making any of this sound easy, because it's not easy. But if you are waking up in the morning feeling sad and not happy with your lot in life, if you think you can bear it for the rest of time and that you can live with what you've ended up with, well, then you've made your decision. And because you've made your decision, you'll be fine with it. You'll make it work somehow. But if you feel, like I did, that you needed more, and there is more, there's so much more, then maybe today's the day to sit down and really have a good think about it and perhaps make that big decision. As always, if you would like to chat to me privately, I always put my email address in the description box, and I welcome you to write to me and we can chat about your situation. If you know of anyone else who would enjoy or benefit from this video, I ask you to please share with them so that I can grow my channel and reach more and more people who are sometimes just battling to get through the day and would feel helped by listening and perhaps talking. And as I always say, we are better together. There's no doubt about that in my mind. Until next time, big hugs to you. Bye for now.